inform or encourage you that maybe there is a way for Republicans and Democrats to work together on what may be necessary?
I think I reached my maximum.
Well, yes, I think there is. And consider, this started about 3 or 4 weeks ago with 8 senators. I was one of them. 4 Democrats and 4 Republicans eating dinner at a safe social distance in someone's living room and talking about whether or not we could break the deadlock on COVID relief. We did it. In 3 weeks, we put together a bill. We introduced it a week ago. And look where we are today. We're talking about enacting this into law and making a major impact on the economy. It was a group of 8 senators that grew to 11 or 12 ultimately.
Not that good with my left hand.
Force. I think grassroots bipartisan
Now the
force
camera's
can
closer,
make a
so.
difference in the Senate, regardless of who's in charge.
That was Senate Minority Whip Dick Durbin of Illinois. Coming up, Britain discovers a
Actually, I
new,
will do
more
that one
contagious strain of COVID, leading to its partial isolation, including the closing of its
I
port
moved too
of
much stuff
Dover.
at once. New setup calls for new setup, right? Hair in there. Jeez. What are they talking about? That music is something else nowadays.
We are not there yet.
We need the fiscal stimulus.
Goes along with a whole sexualized
Because I
culture.
can see when the second wave's coming, you can see consumer spending beginning
Sad.
to get impacted again.
What we need surveillance to be stronger. We need public health measures because you have no other way at the beginning. This is your best weapon and you need to use it well.
The good news is that both the vaccines and the therapeutics, in particular the antibodies, are coming along and will start to bring that number way down.
We don't just need more investment in public health. We must also rethink how we value
Much
health.
better.
I do believe in targeted fiscal stimulus is going to be in order to really begin a more equalized economy.
Much better.
This is Wall Street Week. I'm David Weston. This week saw a virtual shutdown of London and much of southeast England after discovery of a new, more contagious strain of COVID-19, leading a host of countries.
I don't know why they weren't more aware when Denmark killed all those minks. Like, you've seen it a little bit on a couple news inserts, but
It really seems like a sort of
now they
duplicate
don't
phenomenon
let it
almost that happened
get so out of
when Asia
control.
port closed, which obviously is responsible for a big chunk of
They're not even mentioning it now.
particularly fresh fruit and veg at this time of year. And there's also a lot of meat
Pinkies
that's
are so
stuck on
much
this side
easier.
trying to get over the channel. Obviously, we worry
I
about
was
how
like,
long that's even
perfect
going to keep.
though.
I think we've had, as you know, David, there's
Should
been
just leave it
disruption
on.
and certainly
And I will, and I have a big old hair on my middle finger.
bottlenecks across the
Somehow.
world.
I think I'm gonna do something different with my middle
because
finger.
of the way that trade has picked up very quickly, and not enough ships to take all of this freight. So you then have cargo piling up at the port.
Oh no, yeah. I think maybe I'm just gonna make the whole thing glitter. But we shall worry about that later. I'm gonna get me a clean napkin. Finish my cigarette. And then I shall. Oh, let me go ahead and do my Mia clear. just in case my phone runs out of memory. That way I can upload this one and then do my other nails with the chisel.
GDP, so it's a big deal.
My cigarette went out anyway, so it all works out. Alright, so I really like this one for close to my cuticles.
Apparently now President Macron is backing off of that and saying we're going to start up the trade once again. At the same time, are there longer-term consequences?
So y'all know I cleaned this brush
no matter
earlier.
almost what happens with Brexit.
Well, exactly. So we know that even if we talk about sort of no deal versus deal, but the kind of deal that we're looking at has always been one that suggested a big increase in customs regulations, a big increase
Which one do I say I was going to do it on?
Both sides to inspect goods.
I'm doing it on my middle finger, even though that's not what I wanted to do.
They said, oh, we won't
so I'll push it to the cuticles, clean that off,
for 6 months. So try
get a little bit more.
That kind of hit in the short term. But the Europeans are legally obliged to do all their checks from day one, and they have insisted they will do that. So already you have had a lot of hauliers and
drain it a
truckers
little
say,
bit.
you know what, we're going to steer clear of the UK ports for a few months to see how this shakes out. So that was already causing strain and worry.
And Stephanie, give us a sense of what the tools are in the toolkit, and whose toolkit is it? Because it's not clear exactly to me what the Bank of England could do to help the situation. What can Boris Johnson do?
Well, so our economists are now predicting on the basis of this new lockdown a double-dip recession, with the UK economy shrinking again in the last three months of this year and the first 3 months of 2021.
1, 2, 3.
We haven't quite got there.
Pick it up. I'm going to put that right here in the middle. Let it set, clean off my brush, put a little bit of monomer in, clean off both sides.
Even though output may shrink, we've had all along through this pandemic this support coming from governments for income.
Try not to play with it too
much. The furlough scheme that's employing this big chunk of the UK workforce, thanks to with the government picking up the tab, that carries on now through April. It's been extended even longer. There's other forms of support for business. So in a sense, everything that's going to be supporting the economy is already happening, and there's not much the Bank of England can do
really need like
about a long line of trucks at Dover or lockdown.
Get the big boy out.
Purchasing services or going to
fold in the sides of it.
To hang tight and make sure that confidence is still there when we get through the pandemic.
And Stephanie, finally, give me a sense of the compliance on the part of the British citizens right now. Here in the United States, as you know,
you can kind of see how
we've seen some of it in continental Europe. Are the British
it still needs a little bit of
strict lockdown that maybe we've seen other
help.
places?
You know, I think there's been a
one good bead should do it.
Just
to give it a nice clear coat. 1, 2, 3.
If confidence is lost in the reasoning behind it and the scientific
put it in the middle, kind of bring it up.
That are announcing it, then obviously
clean off my brush, some monomer on it, clean off both sides, and then
supporting restrictions,
try to
following them. But certainly the younger population, there's been quite a lot of breaches already. I think people are sort of holding their breath to see what happens at Christmas, because there is a great feeling of unease and resentment of the way the government has continually changed.
Just try to encase it all there.
It's a difficult time to have leaders in whom people seem to have very little confidence.
That was Stephanie
Flanders, it's so good to know we have a leader that soon going to save us all.
We wrap up the week as we do every week with our special contributor Larry Summers.
What a responsibility, though. Poor guy.
This is Wall Street Week on Bloomberg.
I made a business out of my passion. I mean, who doesn't love
It's like coming in after somebody like Bush is so much different than coming in after somebody like Trump.
I just don't have the bandwidth for more business. Seriously. I don't have the bandwidth.
All right.
Glitchy video calls with
turned out rather well.
Yeah, that's my thing.
With AT&T Business, you do the things you love. Our people and network will help do the things you do.
You'll see it more when it dries. A little clean underneath the nail, though. One side is a bit thicker, but it's alright. Alright, so that's Mia's secret. Now I am going to stick with what I like. I apparently use Mia's secret, so I do love my chisel. I gotta remember what site I got it off of. I got it on sale, but I know it was like $4 cheaper than on Amazon, whatever site it was.
Your weekly review of the most important business news, analysis, and
Okay, so I am going to get some clean monomer.
We have always been a mixture of things. We are always stronger for that mixture.
Growth is a way to stay competitive and like more.
I'm gonna see what time it is.
Are you worried that people won't take the vaccine?
Oh, it's only 1 o'clock. That works. But I gotta leave here at 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I need lots of time to get ready. As you can tell, I be doing all kinds of stuff before I leave anyway. Alright, so we're gonna start off with this. Get near to the cuticles first.
Extraordinary levels. So I think it's
Yeah,
not
flatten out my
surprising
brush.
as any indication of the beginning and the end, but I do think markets don't like uncertainty.
Just get the edge there. 1, 2, 3. What about me?
This is
Get
Wall
it
Street
in the
Week.
middle a
I'm
little
David
bit.
Weston, and we wrap up the week as we do
Clean
every
that
week
off.
with our
We'll put a
special
little bit
contributor,
more on there.
Larry Summers of Harvard. So Larry,
1,
a lot
2,
of the talk
3.
this week was about stimulus. We thought we had that $908 billion
Kind of pull it
stimulus
up a
bill.
little
Then
bit.
President Trump up and said, "No, I don't like it." What do you think about where we are in stimulus?
Look, we're better off with stimulus than we are without stimulus. I don't think the $2,000 checks make much sense. The real issue is going to be sustaining this expansion. You think about it, the 908 stimulus bill probably
I'm just kind of pushing it down close to it, but not
a month for the next
too
3
close.
months.
So I have to do all that stuff again.
Level of compensation is running
Just
about
bringing
$40
it up,
billion a month.
cleaning up my
Below what we would have
edges.
expected it would. GDP is running about $70 billion a month below what we would have expected it would. So in a way that's quite unprecedented. We have stimulus
Alright, and then I'm just going to
already
go in with a big brush.
much more than filling out the hole.
Push off my
And
sides.
given that lots of the hole is
So
from the back, not that people don't
I just
want to
push the
spend,
top off and
but
then I
that they
push
can't
in my
spend.
side so that way it
Can't
makes
take
it like a
flight,
smaller
they can't
brush.
go to a restaurant. I don't
1,
necessarily
2,
think
3.
that
Oh,
the
I messed
priority
that up. But it's
should
alright.
be
I'm going to put it
on
right at the
promoting
apex.
consumer spending
And then
beyond
kind of
where
bring
we
it
are
up a little
now.
bit. That
So
was
I'm not
too
even
wet,
sure
but
that I'm
it'll be
so
alright.
enthusiastic about the $600 checks. And I think taking them to $2,000 would actually be a
1,
pretty
2,
serious
3.
mistake that would risk
Get
a
the other
temporary
side.
overheat. I would like to see more assistance to state and local governments. I would like to see more money put into testing.
So yeah, just like how the chisel dries, like the timing of the drying. I like how it sets. I like how it works with my monomer. It's just, it does make a difference.
And I have to say that
And it does
when
save
you
time,
see
so
the two
it might be a little bit
extremes
more
agreeing,
expensive, but
you can almost be certain that
it
something
definitely saves
crazy
me some
is
time.
in the air. And so when I see a coalition of Josh Hawley, Bernie Sanders, and Donald
See.
Trump getting behind an idea, I
Alright,
think that's
I need
time
just
to
a little bit
run
more
for
of an
cover.
apex,
And
and
I
then
know that
we can get to
many
moving to
of
my
my
other nail.
fellow Keynesians who believe in fiscal stimulus
1,
will
2,
likely
3.
be in favor of this, but sometimes there can be too
Got like
much,
a little
too
dip
poorly
there.
designed of even a basically good idea. And that's my reaction to $2,000 stimulus.
Well, it's not massive the way a move to $2,000 a person would be, but when you talk about maybe poorly designed, we've got a 5,600-page bill, give or take here. A lot of stuff in there probably nobody knows what's in there. But you got a chance to look at some of it now. Are there some things that really jump out at you and say, boy, that doesn't make much sense to me?
There are two things that strike me as really big time, Dom. The first is the resurrection of the 3 martini lunch. That was repealed by the Reagan administration on principle that why should the company canteen not be tax deductible when you eat there, and Fat Cat executive lunches be deductible for all concerns and not treated as income. We put it back for 2 years. That's beyond.
Yeah, I
where
just took
people
all
think
my
this
stuff off,
pandemic's gonna
so
be.
we gonna
The
have to
reason
do
they
that
put it
again.
back for 2 years was because they knew
We'll try to keep it
that once
from
it
the
had
top.
been there for 2 years, it was going to be hard not to keep extending. So I think that qualifies as the worst tax provision of the decade. And it's a decade that's seen some real doozies. The other one, David, where it doesn't make much sense, is if you get a PPP loan, and so you don't bear any expense for a portion of your payroll, why should you get to deduct a payment you didn't make? Or equivalently, if the government's going to give you money, how come that's not being called income? And so that sort of overpayment seems to me to be another thing that's just a
Just gonna let that sit for a minute
giveaway.
before we
Make no mistake, these
bring
things
it out.
are not there by accident.
Let it
These
self-level.
things are there because people put them there. And they're there then because other people didn't have the courage to resist them, even though they knew that they were wrong.
I talked to Dr. Anthony Fauci, and he said he thinks sort of a base case, center of the bell curve, is we'll be back to something approaching what he called normal by the end of the summer, toward Labor Day. And he defined that as 75 to 80% of the populace inoculated. Does that make sense to you?
Everything else can just
if it takes
be taken off later.
To get 75% of the population inoculated, I don't see why we shouldn't be able to do it.
Now I'm gonna use my other brush
I
here.
hope that more vaccines will come online than the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines.
1, 2, 3.
Now,
Just a little bit of
some
pee.
legitimate issues about
Then
whether
we're
people
gonna
should
do my
have to get 2
pinky.
doses or whether one dose
Bring that up there.
would be appropriate in many cases.
Nice and
I
even,
think there
spread
are
out
other
the
things
top.
we can do to facilitate a return towards
There we go.
normality that center on making testing much more inexpensive and pervasively
Let that dry a little bit.
available. In
Now
general,
we're gonna do
while the worst
my pointer finger. You can tell I'm getting bored now, or I'm getting,
those of some of the people on the political
I don't know what you
side,
call it, but
scientific
ready to be done.
communities
Alright, and we'll put that
for
right there, kind of bring it up
has
a little
again
bit.
and again stopped us
It's just a
from
little
having
bit,
very, very valuable
a little
improvements.
teeny.
The FDA shouldn't be blocking many of the tests they're currently
With that
blocking.
self-level. Oh my gosh,
These
I love
vaccines
chisel.
should have come on stream.
I was hesitant to buy it because, you know, I've been dipping my nails, so I haven't really been using acrylic. But today I am seeing how much easier it is. And the thing I like about chisel too is that you can use it as a dip.
We're going to wrap up the week, as always, with some
Actually, I think that's what I
lightning
did with
round
my
here.
Mia's Secrets. I
First
used
of
that
all,
as a dip.
you look at the
I can't
Biden
remember.
cabinet, and the
But
question
you
of
can use
Senate
chisel as a
confirmation
nail
wants
dip
to be
too.
confirmed. If you were going to guess, what portion of that cabinet will be
It's like
confirmed
a
by
2-in-1.
January 31?
I would
It
guess
doesn't
that
say it, I don't
80%
think.
will be confirmed by January 31.
Just says chisel nail art, but
90 to 95%
you can.
will be ultimately confirmed.
1,
My guess
2,
is
3.
one or two cases
What
that
about
aren't
me?
confirmed.
I'm just gonna get the middle there. Try to get some on that cuticle a little bit
What is
more.
the biggest political surprise we're going to have
Paint
over
my
the next 6 months,
brush.
in your opinion?
I think Donald Trump's going to fade from public view faster than most people expect right now.
That's why he's trying to get that
It's always true that
bill passed about the
in the face of a bit of kryptonite.
social media, so that way he
His
still has a
various legal
voice.
problems are going to be that kryptonite. If you go back in
Even
history to two
Fox
figures
News is
who had some
becoming a
resemblance,
little bit easier to watch.
to Donald Trump, Joe McCarthy and Douglas MacArthur both rode extremely high and dominated the media until they didn't. And once they had passed their zenith, the
I'm just trying to
collapse
get my
was faster
cuticle
than most people
area.
expected. I think that's going to happen with respect to Donald Trump, and I'll bet right now that he will not be a serious candidate for president in 2024.
Heck no. All these people you done drove crazy this year.
There's a lot of talk right now about the
Or
dollar.
these last couple years.
Specifically, maybe Janet Yellen as she becomes Treasury Secretary, which most
I
people
know these
expect,
Republicans
really,
are like, damn, I can finally do my job.
Treasury secretaries have had, as you know, since the mid-90s, saying we need a strong dollar.
Alright, I need more of the apex.
Put aside for one,
1, 2, 3.
what do you think the dollar is going to be doing a year from now?
Let's
Stronger
let
or
that
weaker than it is right now?
sink in there.
David, as J.P. Morgan used to say when he was asked a similar question,
I'm like working up
my
here now.
prediction based on all my experience in the markets is that the dollar will,
Trying to mess with my phone.
about this, fluctuate.
Messing with my nails.
The year ahead, I'd be surprised if there was a large move.
Bring that in.
Janet, as every Treasury Secretary does, will have to find her line on the dollar. I certainly hope she will make clear that it's the Biden administration's intent to build prosperity on a strong foundation of fundamentals, rather than indulge in any idea that it's possible to devalue the
Way too much monomer.
And how she expresses that thought, I'm confident she will find a good way. But it's that essence of a focus on fundamentals.
Yeah, see what I'm doing? I got so much liquid on my hair.
Strategy is, I think, the point on which financial authorities have to be clear.
Larry Summers, special
All right.
Wall Street Week.
There we go.
Of course,
Now it's time for my
Thank you so
thumb.
much for being with us.
These brushes do
Finally,
use a lot of
one more
monomer
thought.
though.
Not letting the perfect be the enemy of the good. For 7 long months,
1,
Republicans
2,
and Democrats
3.
agreed on the need for more stimulus to help small businesses,
1,
to help
2,
people who've
3.
been thrown out of work.
Oh, that helps.
Our purpose has
Count
always
into 3
been
before you drop the beat.
to crush the virus, to put money in the pockets of the American people,
Actually, we're going
which
to do
we
another
do
beat there.
in this legislation.
It is packed with targeted policies that help struggling Americans who've already waited
1, 2,
entirely too long.
3.
But for 7 long months, they couldn't for the life of them agree on how much help was needed or where it should go.
We've offered compromises. The speaker on a number of issues is still dug in. If she
1,
wants
2,
to compromise,
3.
there will be a deal.
1,
But
2,
just as it looked like
3.
they'd run out of time, a small group of senators from both sides of the aisle got together and somehow miraculously found a way. They met over a takeout dinner at Senator Lisa Murkowski's house up on Capitol Hill, socially distanced, of course,
We're
with the
going to push
windows
that
open.
down.
And they considered for the first time,
Push
what if we
that
didn't do
down.
something sweeping? What if we did
Push that
just what we
down.
need to do right now? And so
Push
they
that
came up with
down.
a compromise, one that probably no lawmaker was completely satisfied with. And certainly President
And
Trump
pull it
wasn't
out.
satisfied because he immediately demanded they go back and provide for more direct payments to individuals. But nonetheless, they did find a way to compromise. And when they had gotten their deal done, they decided to celebrate. They held a toast with some West Virginia moonshine, courtesy of Senator Joe Manchin. And the senior senator from Illinois, Dick Durbin, well, he participated. And he said it tasted pretty good, although it did take the enamel off of his teeth.
That's
And
funny.
so, as we look to the new year, let's hope for some more good to be done, whatever it might do to the enamel on our teeth. That does it for this episode of Wall Street Week. I'm David Weston. This is Bloomberg. See you next week.
We'll take a cup of kindness here for all lang syne.
Just got a little bit right there. It's a little thin on that side, but it'll be alright. Alright, now which one was I supposed to go back to? I think my pinky. And I'm almost done with my left hand.
Give you a sense of the real-time action. The 10-year yield tumbling now 11 basis points, so continuing in this knee-jerk risk-off feel.
I need like a stationary monomer thing. It sucks when your brush splits too. Oh well, that didn't work out. 1, 2, 3.
The deadly pandemic has taken a devastating toll on the U.S. economy in 2020, but some have been hit much harder than others.
The pandemic has made it very clear that there's some problems in our society.
Wall Street has enjoyed a rapid rebound, while on many stretches of Main
That
Street,
didn't work at all.
the outlook remains grim.
It's going to take a while before
I'm moving too fast now.
resurgence of our values and the desire to be back in the urban core.
And in a year when calls for racial justice have swept across the world,
Yeah,
communities of color are insisting on economic equity as well.
We're telling
I
young
need some
black
help
people
here.
that you have the opportunity to rebuild,
Get all this stuff off of me.
have a strong foundation.
We have to spread the wealth. We have to include more of the population.
We've reached the close of 2020. Welcome to this special report on the unequal recovery. I'm Caroline Hyde. I'm Taylor Riggs.
And I'm Romaine Bostic. You know, guys, if there's a word that sums up 2020, it could very well be division. Political division, social division, and not least of all, economic division.
And we're going to examine all of those divides in this program through the eyes of guests who joined us on Bloomberg Television during the course of the year. And we won't just rehash the problem. We'll hear from executives, from experts, and from activists who are all working on solutions, trying to rebuild the foundations of the U.S. economy so that the recovery will be more solid for all.
All right, let's start at the intersection of social and economic justice, looking at racial disparities in finance. The pandemic has exposed decades of underinvestment in black communities, and that begins with a shortage of black.
I'm trying to do it while it's still kind of wet, so I'm not going through a whole bunch of stuff when it's dry. That is going to need all kinds of help.
That are bigger than all.
Where's my soft brush?
That's the nation's largest black-owned bank. Now, Michael Render, of course, you know him as the Grammy-winning rapper Killer Mike of Run the Jewels. He's working to address
It just needs a lot of help. All right. So I am going to clean my brushes. That's one thing too about these plastic handles. Is they don't do good with monomer. Alright, well, I think I'm at my limit, so I'm gonna do a other video for my right hand.